Here, live exclusive from Hawaii. No. Anyway, hey, I'm just checking in before I check out. I had a really positive comedian here just a little bit ago, Stickers, and she is funny like Rodney Dangerfield. Funny, I said, I've seen this glimpse of Rodney Dangerfield in her, and I'm telling you, this woman is no lack from success. I was just telling her of a new comedy I was thinking about having right here, here at, the coffee shop, the grocery store, and the park and everything, and I got this lineup of excellent uh, uh, people and just playing a natural thing with just coming in there and throwing some zingers and have these people that's just great, like Stickers here, which I've been calling Snickers. And she says, I'm not no candy bar. And I said, no, but you are sweet. And that she is. And, it's been a beautiful night. I mean, the moon is just, it's over there, but it's so far away, though, but it's the moon and the beautiful shot off the water and stuff. And it's just orange tonight. I mean, it's really beautiful. And what have we done? Well, now I've been dealing with some Republicans. I mean, the other night I was right here, and what I'm finding is these Republicans, they seem to have this, and they're doing the same thing. There's a woman that seems to want to be the guy, one that's in the contact, and wants to come right up and get in my face, and that's exactly what happened. She goes, this is what we need. We need a motorhome like this for me and my 5 kids, my 2 dogs, and him. Oh, and him. He was the last thing. And he was the last thing because that's what, Anyway, I'll get to this. And the next thing you know is she starts in, this is what we need, this is what we need, and then she starts in with Donald Trump. Under Donald Trump's leadership, with her lips pointed out, under Donald Trump's leadership. And I said, well, that's not true, and that's not true. And I told her that was not true. And then this gentleman starts in with, well, the thing that got me about him is he waived his money to be the president of the United States. And he says he's the only president that ever did. And I said, no. I said, no, Ronald Reagan did, and he's no Ronald Reagan. He says, well, besides Ronald Reagan, and just kind of like mediated it. But that keeps happening over and over, and there's another couple that did the same thing. And then we've got other issues of the same thing happening. These are Republicans that seem to be homeless. These seems to be Republicans that seem to be this homeless group that's out there in trailer parks. These here are renegade Republicans that's running around saying, under Donald Trump's leadership, and even the guy that has the car, sticking up for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's a criminal, and these here bathrooms are an issue with this, the women's and men's bathrooms being switched around. And I tell you, there's a lot of people not very happy about that and seeing what's been going on. And right down to the gas pumps, the Chevron gas pumps have been switched around for the other side, so the premium's not there. And I pointed out to a young man and his girlfriend or wife earlier, and they were quite concerned over some things, and we have these kids and stuff acting out. And it seems like a dirty trick that somebody's played on somebody, so somebody could actually walk in and actually vote for the wrong person. I mean, here Donald Trump wants people, at the voting booths and stuff like that, and that's no more than harassment. So, I'm all for sending in your votes through the mail, because I think that the mail is actually federal And, if somebody screws with the mail, it's a federal offense. So I think that probably voting by mail is probably the best bet. But I'll tell you what, Donald Trump's been defeated, and he is the Antichrist, and I was used, and I know this for a fact. I'm telling you, I had a Bible in my hand, and I had a key fall right out of the Bible. I was given the key, and I walked down to the paper mill from the house on 7th Street up here. Something terrible happened in Camas. I was used years ago. And the key dropped right out of that Bible, and, I walked down to the paper mill. And what the key was to a guitar shop. And that guitar shop actually is moved, and it's on the other side of Safeways now, and I've thought about going in there. Everything that I'm doing here has been leading me to the Holy Father. If somebody, I'll have somebody look at this in person, or I'm going to take a light and I'm going to shine it on it, but I have a scar right underneath my arm, and how I did it was I was road racing with my friend Elwin Armstrong in Morton, Washington, and I had a jar of marijuana seeds, like Mar-a-Lago or whatever, marijuana seeds. And it was a jar of marijuana seeds, and it was actually in a Folgers glass of Folgers crystal coffee cup thing, and it was full of marijuana seeds. And we were road racing, and Elwin was in front of me. He took me to a road that is a back road into the lake, and they don't drive on it no more. And there was a tree across the road like this, and he was head down like this, and he slowed down in front of me, and I was coming up behind him, and here's my friend, and boy, I'm about ready to run right into the back of him. And it's better to lay your life down for a friend, like this, and if harm comes to you, you don't do the harm to your friend. If you have to lay your life down for you, that's what you do. And I just crashed that bike. I just took it, crashed that bike. Well, here's our friends out here. You see, it gets a little wild around here on this night out there, and that's okay. People be people, and all that good stuff. Now let's go back to this. Now, I'm telling you, God uses people. He's been using me since I was a child. And me and Terry Shortridge watched the 10 Commandments together, and I gave my life to the Holy Father. Terry Shortridge was a preaching boy, and he had leukemia, and he was a real preacher's boy. He was a real preaching boy, Terry Lance Shortridge, and his uncle Pete, I think it was Pete, Uncle Pete, was the preacher in Glenoma. I had to put up with all this here stuff. Pete did the funeral for Terry, and I had to go to Pete's funeral, where my brother Jerry held me up in front of everybody. He was holding me up by his shirt when I was in front of everybody standing there at the door. And then he pulled me out, and then he took me out, and he threw me right over the rail. My brother Jerry threw me right over a rail. You know what a rail is? On the church, threw me right over it onto the ground. I meant nothing to these people. And you don't mean nothing to them either. You just don't mean nothing to these people. And I hope they're happy. I hope they're happy because I'm standing right here, and I know that the Holy Father has used me. And I'll tell you, Jerry should have a little thought about this one too, because I tell you, this one story where the bowling alley was built, it just got opened. And I'll tell you the truth, I went in the bowling alley, and I work a lot of time in the bowling alley. And I just walked over to the till, and I stole $5 out of it. I'm just going to tell the goddamn truth. I stole $5 out of the till. And I came out of the bowling alley, and I was heading across the parking lot. I was going to go home with my $5, and here comes Jerry from the house, and Jerry comes to the house, and he's accusing me of stealing money at the bowling alley. I don't know how he knew I had $5. I never let him on that I had money at all. But all of a sudden, he had a tool in his hand, and he went like this, like he was going to punch me. and all of a sudden that tool stopped in midair. It's just like it froze. And I looked at it, and I looked around his fist like it just froze. And Jerry never said nothing about it. He says, I almost stuck you with this, and I just wonder if he actually knew what he was doing. I actually wonder if he knew what he was doing, and how his hand froze just in that position, just like, it was right there at my face, just like that. It's like it just stopped, like something grabbed his hand and held him there. And there's been a couple other things that's happened, and I'd love to have them tell the stories if they remember it, because I would just confirm the story. Like maybe Jim might want to tell what he's seen with the night that me and my dad picked him up after work. And what happened was we seen an unidentified flying object, and there was 3 of us in the car that witnessed it. And Jim Wright could explain that himself, I'm sure. And anyway, I was just checking in, and hey, let's see, now what else did we do? Homeless people. A panhandler this morning, this girl panhandler. She didn't have no money. I stopped for coffee at the Chevron station right there near Starbucks. I didn't want to go in Starbucks before 7 o'clock because really they don't really get going till after 7. They might be warming up to cook, but they're in the groove after 7. So anyway, I don't personally like going in there till they're in their comfort zone. So anyway, this morning I just went over and bought a cup of coffee over at Chevron, and it's not going to happen again. Because one, the coffee tastes like water and powdered creamer. Not very good. And another thing was, it wasn't that woman, it wasn't that it was bad to meet this Teresa here, and she's no Mother Teresa, by the way. And if she watches the video, she'll know that I said that, so I don't really care. And she is a really nice person, but drugs do get their grips on people in different directions, and I have hope for everyone. But panhandlers, I don't like panhandling. I think panhandling is one of those things that there's got to be something better, But anyway, I had a story. It's called the Kelly story, and it's about a woman that slipped through the cracks, and this story was about 14 years ago or so. But it was similar to this, Republican, the same situation. The man was prostituting the woman out, pretty much, forcing her to panhandle at these stops and stuff. And this is exactly the same thing that was happening here. This guy was bringing her out, and they were just basically panhandling, and he's sitting right in that truck, and she's panhandling. She's got this check coming in for 5 kids from the state. You could tell by the way that she's talking and stuff. And he's not my husband, and I have 5 kids, and one of them's his. Like, she wore the pants in the family, and under Donald Trump's leadership, I just don't understand. This woman's absolutely nuts, and I told them both where they're absolutely wrong. I told them the absolute truth. And then the guy says, he says, this is why we don't want a woman president, and he's pointing to her, and not Carmela, and she gets a little ruffled on it, because now I've got them turning against each other, which they should. And what else happens is he finally says, he says, do you know of a place for us to go tonight? And I told him of a place that was a little safe place where people won't bother you. You'll be able to sleep tonight, and the cops won't bother you, and the cops would probably recommend you go over there and stay in that area, because there's not a lot of real houses. There's a place to stay, and my tip for them would be, in the morning when things starts moving, they move volunteers so nobody complains about them. And if you're sitting there someplace, clean up around you so no one has a reason to complain about you. You know, if you give them a reason to complain about you, they can complain about you, I'm sure. Because here I'm a paying person, and I've had people complain about me, and they've had to eat shit sandwiches because I'm not doing nothing wrong. I've got all my permits. I'm doing everything right that I possibly can, being in the situation I'm in, and meeting and greeting people like I like to do. Very little effort, and there's a big gold lining to it to me. And I'm going to be meeting this woman that has the Sharia cloth, or I don't know what this is. It's an outfit, that covers her. And I'm telling you guys, it's biblical. I'm telling you the truth. Here, look, A, B, C, D. Okay, you take DB out of it, you only have AC left. Okay, then there's the 1 through 26, and then 1 through 26 this way. You see 1 through 26, then 1 through 26 this way, and then A through Z, and then A through Z this way, and then work Donald J Trump, DJT, and JTW, and what you'll find out is a parallel between us, and this has everything to do with biblical. It has everything to do with Hezbollah. It has everything to do with the Middle East. And I think I'm here to marry this woman. I think I've been led here to this very thing. And I told Ernie Tobeck about it. I told Ernie Tobeck about the things that was happening. I told Ernie Tobeck the things that was happening as they were happening. And I told Ernie, just like the Lord would tell him, that I was showing you things and telling you things that was going to happen before they happened. And Ernie and Bonnie, they don't even read a Bible, but I was telling Ernie these things because I knew already that God had a plan for me, but I didn't know what plan it was. To be honest with you, at one point I was scared that I was the Antichrist and I was going to burn in hell forever. And now I'm sitting right here, and I'm telling you that I do have a scar right underneath my arm. And it was done from a motorcycle accident with Ellen Armstrong. And it was when I was 16 years old. And another thing, you take 16 and you flip the 6 upside down, and then it turns into a 9. And the 9 and 1 is a 10. And there you go, it's perfect. And that's the Zodiac way. It's like 208 Main Street is the Morton Bowling Alley down there in Morton, Washington. 208, 2 plus 8, 10, perfect. And that's the Zodiac way. And there's other things, and it's so simple, this Zodiac code and stuff. It's so simple that it's sitting just right underneath people's noses, and they just really don't understand what they're seeing. And this here crossing of the bathrooms and stuff like this. And another thing, they have a compass out here across the way, and everything that how they set it up, and the fish things over here at the bathrooms, which I showed on the other videos. And there's so many things. This is a widespread thing, and also it's about the overthrow of America. And I don't think the overthrow of America is going to happen. And I think the little red rascals are done. And that's what I believe. And I know that God used me, and a key dropped out of the Bible, and I hooked it down. And I was going to go to that guitar shop, and you know what happened? Well, you don't know what happened, but I got down there, and I seen that water going underneath the mill. And I took that key and I tossed it into that water. And if you read Revelations, God gives an angel a key, comes down from heaven, and that, such as that. But what happened is that Bible, it just goddamn started shaking like this in my hand, and all of a sudden this key just went through it. and it was on a thing that was shaped like a little red house, you know, and the key was right there on it. And I went down there, and I took it down there, and I said to myself, anything worth having is worth working for. And that's what I said, and I took it and I threw that, and it landed in the water right there that goes out in the mill that feeds that mill water for their plant. And that is the truth. That's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And this is back then when the Malaysian plane vanished, is when this here happened. And that was, Armageddon. And, he comes like a thief in the night. And some people will tell me, I'll ask them, now, do you believe that the millennium started? And some people say yes, because it's better. And yes, it is better, because it has happened. And I am telling the truth. I mean, if you research the things that I said in the cases and the way that I've done it, look closely. Any of these people that know me here, and any of these law officers here that know me, they can ask to see the scar under my arm, and they will confirm that there is one there. You could see where the doctor stitched it back together. The doctor was pulling glass out of the side of me and marijuana seeds and setting them on the table, and he says, now would you like to tell me about this? I didn't say nothing. Because I'm supposed to say nothing. That's the Zodiac way, I guess, because I'm trained to say nothing when I'm in front of people like that. So, yesterday, I walked into Starbucks, and right there's 3 law officers, and I said, hey, I'm not here to bribe you with coffee. And they smile. And then today, there was like 7 law officers in there in Starbucks, and they all look at me, and I come in the room and I go, I didn't do it. And I hear, they go, we know you never did it. I didn't say, I was going to say, and I didn't. I was going to say, but I sure do know who did. But they knew that by the way that I was doing that was the next one. They said, we know you didn't do it. Now, and then we got all these here law officers sitting right there in Starbucks. And we've got all these coffee girls looking at me between the law officers and how we're doing this out there in the middle of the room. I have great joy by telling the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I really mean no harm to my family. But you guys should have woke up, because there was stuff going on around you all the time. And you never opened your eyes, and you just never even questioned it. And now that I'm sitting here pointing it out, maybe you have a couple stories that you go, well, what about this and what about that? Hey, amazing things have happened. And I'm just not going to bullshit no one. Hey, I am really happy. Oh, by the way, I went to Big 5. I picked me up one of those big paddle boards. It was like $222, 6. You just add up. It's the Zodiac way. And then I bought 2 lounge chairs, one for a man and one for a woman, in case, I have company. And then I bought a boogie board, that you could pull behind a boat, or you could just go out there and get on a wave and jet off, or just go on. And there's a guy down here that has like a hoverboard that just pulls up out of the water and he just drifts out there. Boy, I want one of those, because I like to do things. But tomorrow I'm going to have my boat. It blows up. I've got it in my motorhome. I just can roll it up and deflate it, put it up on the top where the top bunk is. I put my stuff up there, my raceway, all of my things, my guitar fits up there, whatever. I put a computer up there and I can see it this way, or I can put it over on there. But anyway, I got situated out, and it's nice. And I talked to a woman about electric car. I asked her if she was happy with her electric car. She's happy with her. She's happy with her electric car. From what I understand, she charges it up at home. It's just no problem with charging. So I don't know what the issue is. And I asked her, I said, well, how did you feel about Donald Trump going after the electric car? She's just said, I don't have nothing to think about Donald Trump. I mean, they're disliked for him. And most people have a dislike, but it's only the people that are homeless, it seems like. They've put themselves in a bad financial bind because they won't pay their bills and stuff. They won't do it. They're living in denial, and that's exactly what my family was doing. I mean, my family members, they got a house after my brother-in-law passed away, and they did some construction on it. They refinanced it as high as they could, and they quit making the payments when they got out the juice out of it. So they lost the family home, which they were bitter at. And matter of fact, I came and looked at that house, and the walls on the inside of it, they went through there and they kicked in the walls and stuff, you know. And another thing my family hasn't done is they never even told me that my Aunt Jeannie died over 2 years ago. I found out when I left there 3 months ago, about 100 days ago or so, that my Aunt Jeannie was dead. Well, I took care of my grandma and Aunt Jeannie when all this thing was going on, and they didn't even have the decency to tell me that my Aunt Jeannie was dead. Here, my Aunt Jeannie took care of my grandmother, and she was the farm manager. And, I know my Aunt Jeannie was personally attacked by my sister Bonnie. And another thing is, I know my sister Bonnie had a problem with my Aunt Pat, where they had letters and stuff written back and forth to each other as an ongoing thing. But, the situation was what it was. It was terrible. And they should live up to what they've done. Like I say, I'm trying to put them behind me. I just don't really want to think of them anymore. Because, when I get pissed off and angered and stuff, bad things happen. And I mean, bad things can happen. I learned a long time ago, you don't pray for something to happen, because if you pray for something to happen and it happens, you may be sorry that it did happen. Because with me, some things just seem to be overwhelming when they happen, and you go, really, that really happened, and it did. And the things that did happen, and the things that I know, the Bible shook. I seen the key fall out of there. It dropped right into my lap, right there in that house on, I think it's 1007 on 7th Street, and that was Barbara Donahoe's house. And I've tried to get a hold of Barbara. Well, Barbara's dead by now, I know that. And, but Susan Donahoe, can't get a hold of her, can't find her. Another person is that Steve Dool that owned the Dinger Dome that was right there down by my grandma's farm. That place is closed up. They've moved equipment in there. I haven't seen Steve Dool around here at all. I think Steve Dool's gone. He's probably dead or something. I was thinking about talking to the law enforcement officers and talking to him, finding out if he's up there. And I know where he lives and stuff, and he lives in a secure place that's down in a canyon right there. And he's got a road that goes right down to his house. I moved my fifth wheel down there. I have a fifth wheel down there at his home, and I left it down there 12 years ago, but I'm sure he's got rid of it by now, and rightly so. I mean, I didn't even have a title to it. I bought it off Craigslist, and actually belonged to a Clarks County sheriff once upon a time, and it was stolen. It was found in the woods, and it got back and resold somehow. Anyway, I ended up with this fifth wheel. It was a 27-footer, and it ended up down at Steve Dool's place. Well, over there at that house, when all this here happened, and things happened, when the key dropped out of the book and stuff like that, gosh, it's like you know, let's see, the Devil's Triangle, how they say, you know, there's this wormhole that goes zip and you go through it. Well, that seems to be what happens when I get upset. And all of a sudden, the world's changed. I mean, I'm just being sincere. And that's exactly really what's happened. And I know what I've done in the past, and I know what I've done 3 times. It actually triggered it. I won't even say what it is, because I won't want to trigger it unless I want to trigger it. You see, and if I want to trigger it, I will trigger it. But if I trigger it, I don't know if it's what's going to happen. Bad things can happen, or everything's good. Because when it triggered the last time, when it triggered, it happened. I gotta get out of here because the water's coming on, and I don't want my computer all wet. This must be midnight. Time to get out of here. Just a walk through the park, and you look at these, their bathrooms. Right here, they've got people mesmerized. Right here with these fish. Right here. And they did this deliberately, did this here little design to mesmerize people. And they've put this here woman's bathroom on the right hand side. That's where the man's supposed to be, and they put the men's on the left hand side. Today they put a picture on this here wall for this little rabbit thing. I think that's goddamn inappropriate too, because it's making people come over here to this door. Just like it's a trick to get people to move to the right. Like it's a voting trick to get people to trick in their mind to do things that they shouldn't do. Such as the premium pumps down at the gas stations. You know, you got Arco that has it on one side, and you have Chevron on the other side. And then, you know, you have Exxon, they do it their way. Now, if they're confusing everyone, that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And that's part of the coup, to get people not to think right, and also causes them to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And my name's John T. Wright, and I'm on YouTube. I'm D.B. Cooper's real son. The bowling alley's in Morton, Washington. It's Hezbollah. I am telling the truth. It's a beautiful night. The park, it's time to close, and I gotta get out of here. Nice to see ya. You guys having a great day, and be good, do good. If you see garbage in America, pick it up. It's an American thing to pick up garbage. Do what you can for your country, and don't necessarily ask what your country can do for you, because you're the one that runs the country. The power is in the people. It's not really in the politicians. And by the way, I was told last night, or I was told the other day, well, Donald Trump's a politician. No, I said, no, Donald Trump's a real estate agent. I had a real estate agent, and I also told him this. Donald Trump's a criminal. And he has, and a lot of people tell me, well, we're all criminals. Well, I'm not a criminal, but I've been treated like a criminal. Oh, and another thing I will say, that being the Vice President of the United States of America is to support the President of the United States of America. And I'm just saying that Joe Biden is the President, and Joe Biden is the guy that should be in the driver's seat, and Carmela should be doing everything that she can to help Joe. And here, you got Donald Trump playing a coup. We don't want Carmela playing a coup. 2 coups against Joe Biden. I'll step in. I'll go to Washington, D.C., and I'll stand by Joe. And by the way, if Joe wants me to step in, Joe could be my vice president, because I'd rather have Joe with me And by the way, I think I do just goddamn fine. I bet I could do a lot better than people fucking think I can. You know why? Because I'm a real person and I goddamn know. And another thing, God's elected me to the position. God Almighty elected me to a position of authority. Now you have a nice day and you take that food for thought. And I'll tell you another thing. What you gonna do when the Holy Father's Son runs wild on you? You know, I know this has to do with Jacob's ladder. I know this has to do with Esau. I know this has to do with Jacob. I know this has to do with the older will serve the younger. And that woman that I met down here, and here's the boat going through. I gotta get a picture of this one coming through. While we're here, it's kind of like it just livens up the whole thing. It's out there. And so now here, I can help where I can help, and I'm pretty good at doing what I do. And by the way, all the law enforcement community here probably would support me to come forward to be the governor of Washington State, and or even go over there to Washington D.C. and try to clean up where I can, do where I can, where I can. And I tell you what, I read people when they walk, I read people when they talk, and I read between the lines, and I'm a pretty good person when it comes down to getting something done. And by the way, I work really cheap, by the way. And also, people also drop other people's names like this Elon Musk, you know. Well, I just want you to know that I actually know one of his kids, and she told me that that was his dad, her dad, and also she's related to Britney Spears too. So if anybody thinks that I can't get a message to this Musk or Taylor Swift, guess what? And also, right there, that wormhole effect happened right there when I point out the Taylor Swift video. When I hit the roulette table, I felt it just happen right there, and it snapped and it flashed, and the world changed. And I tell you, it's a wormhole, I believe. I believe it just happens. It's one of those wormhole things that we read about, that studies in about like the Devil's Triangle, ships disappear, they come out someplace else, 4 hours ahead of schedule, stuff like that. Well, it is what it is. And if it wasn't so, I wouldn't be here trying to explain it. And there's so many people that knows when I've got angered, bad things has happened, like floods and terrible things and stuff. It's really not good. Or it happened during the time period, and they can associate it with those things. And I would probably say I was associating with them all the way along the way. Just like I seen the governor talking about, how this flood was going down there, and we're pinpointing the thing. I heard what Governor Gregwall was saying, and I was saying I'm the thing that it's pointing to. But like I was saying, you could either believe this or not, but I'm telling you, I'm here. There's a woman down here that's wearing this black, thing from the Middle East down here. And I told Ernie I was being, wherever God leads me, I'm going to be going that way. And guess what? It's right here. And I'm sincere. And my name's John Wright. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to see what happens. The park's better. The people are nicer. Tonight, there wasn't one bad thing that happened here that I could tell. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. This is America. Pick up where you can, clean up where you can. When you see crap, point it out. Oh, and by the way, I tell everybody here, if I'm lying to you, you guys could just all take me out in the ship and throw me out in the ship, cut me up into little pieces and feed me to the ship. Nobody will miss me. I'm not important. I'm not important at all. If I'm lying, I just don't really want to live no more. But I'm living because I'm telling the truth. And that's the best thing about this. there's so much honor in telling the truth. I have a privilege that no one else has, is the way I feel it. And I feel that it's time it needs to be done. And for somebody to say that these here bathrooms being switched like this isn't really the issue. I told them, I said, you guys are just minimizing it, and when you know it's the issue, and you can't stand on anything. And I said, by the way, these got 3 men or 2 or 3 men with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I said, people don't even want to respect you. They walk around you guys. I said, you guys should stand up for what's right instead of fucking what's wrong. You know? And I made friends with those guys. You know, I tried to tell, we're all trying to do the best thing here. But if you guys can't see what I'm seeing, then they do see what I'm seeing, and then you still want to call it incorrect, they're no more better than Donald Trump and Donald Trump's little weirdos. That, like the woman that held the gun and says, pulled it out of her purse 2 times, and she says she never pulled the gun out. The heck she never, or I wouldn't have seen it. To tell me that you have a gun up at my motorhome, hey, you have a gun, you never displayed it. The second that you displayed it, whether you went like that and pointed at me, you still pulled it up. That woman will never be found here again. She's going to be on the run forever. And she's in a country. I would tell that woman, you need to put your guns down. And I told her, you know, you put your gun down. Go sign up the right way and you get in this country the right way, because if not, they'll catch you and they'll put you in prison. They'll put you in jail. They'll deport you anyway. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot worse than if you would have just did the right thing to begin with. Hey, my name's John Wright, and I'm at 42 minutes. You know, that's just like 6. 4 and 2 is 6. You know, that's the zodiac way. And let's see, there's a few other things that's happened, coincidences, you know, and I just can't get around it. You guys have a nice day, and it's wonderful to be here.